There's my cavalry running up. I still have a pretty good amount of them intact. They had to do a lot of fighting. They had to punch their way through a lot of British cavalry, and they also had to punch their way through a whole lot of green jackets, which normal skirmishers wouldn't cause that much damage. Like I said, green jackets have bayonets, and so my horses did take a pretty good beating, but all things considered, I have quite a few of them. And now what I'm going to do is pull up behind this British line and harass them. Of course, my opponent is going to see this happening, and so he's going to turn this unit of Coldstream Guards towards my cavalry. And one thing I don't want to do is come within range of these Coldstream Guards, because these guys are excellent infantry. They will absolutely blast my cavalry if I get too close. So more or less, I'm just going to use my cavalry to occupy his attention. You can see that any unit of his infantry that's facing my cavalry is going to be one less unit of infantry facing Aileron. So sometimes the strategy of just distraction is worth it. And also, I missed the point where it happened, but Aileron has routed the Swedish heavy cavalry. I believe that the Swedish opponent ran them up this flank here and down along Aileron's line in an attempt to destroy his long rifles and to also damage his infantry, but Aileron was able to rout them out. So that's another one less worry that we have on the battlefield. And now Aileron's opponent is marching up his green jackets. And so there's about to be a skirmishing engagement beginning here, in which these light dragoons are going to go ahead and take some flank shots, which will give Aileron a good start. So there's those light dragoons firing in. As you can see, this unit of green jackets took some heavy casualties there. They're already down to half strength. That's one of the downsides of having to actually make the first move in the skirmishing fight, is that you are going to take some pretty severe damage, unless you use a meat shield or something else. But it's a tricky game, and if you get good at skirmishing, it can really help you win battles, because it can help you have the advantage when the line engagement begins. There, the British player is running up his line infantry as well. And let's take a look at the Prussia versus Sweden fight. Looks like Angelos is putting some real pressure on the flank of the Swedish player. He's got him surrounded. He's got Prussian Jaegers here, superior line, and some line infantry. He's pushing on the flank. In the rear, he's got his cavalry running amok. Here's his light dragoons firing into the rear of this line infantry. And right here, his 2nd Hussars are chasing down this unit of superior line, which is going to be routed. 2nd Hussars are excellent at charges and disruption. In a charge, they have such good stats for charges, they always cause some pretty bad damage, and they're an excellent unit to bring when you play as Prussia. And here's his line infantry's already taken some damage in the skirmishing. And now Angelos is moving up his line as well. So there's a decisive moment about to take place here. It looks like Angelos is going to move up to back the Swedish skirmishers up. And if the Swedish skirmishers don't back up, then he's going to be able to blast them down with his own line. So let's watch this engagement. It's one of the things I love about Empire. It's not necessarily my favorite time period, but I really like this game because it makes for some cool battles. I just love it whenever your lines wheel up and just start unloading on each other. I think it's cool. Like even though my computer doesn't have the best effects, it still looks pretty nice. Here, this unit of superior line, you can see they fire slightly different. In an infantry engagement, you can see they fire in small groups because they, I guess they're kind of like guards. Whereas the regular line infantry, you'll see fires off in volleys by rank. So there you go. The Prussian line is far superior to Swedish line, but he's also got superior line on his side, so he has some good line infantry there. And here comes his garde du corps, and he's going to disrupt the Swedish formation here. That's actually going to be a pretty painful charge because they were spread kind of thin, and this was heavy cavalry, so he's done some good damage there. And here he's used his 2nd Hussars for disruption in the rear, and that was enough to cause many of these Swedish units to rout. A lot of times, cavalry in the rear, just the worry of it can cause an enemy to rout. And here, I use my Crow Horse Warriors with Angelos' garde du corps, and we bushwhack these British light dragoons. Apparently, the opponent who's in control of them didn't notice what was about to happen, or just didn't care by this point. But there you go, we got Prussians. Someone said in my last video that I must hate Prussians because they were always who I was owning with my Pueblo army. But here, you can see that I'm working in conjunction with them. to make amends for all the dead Prussians. So here we go. Alright, I have now regrouped my melee infantry, and I'm going to march it up very soon. They're quite tired, and I was just giving them a bit of a rest. But now that the battle's nearly over, it's time for me to just bring them up, and so I will begin marching them momentarily. Aileron has won the skirmishing engagement for the most part. He's also taken out some of the British line infantry. And let's take a look at his army to see how that went. Looks like he suffered some losses, but he appears to have his line pretty much intact. And he's got most of his, or all of his rifles intact, it looks like. So he's done quite well there, and managed to take down a lot of British troops. So you can see this is the last stand of our opponents. I thought this was a really fun battle. It turned out well. I was giving my Pueblo army another test run, and I also had opportunity to test this army against a good player that some of you all know. I think he's probably one of the best players I've seen, Synoptic, TLG, and he definitely demonstrated that this army does have weaknesses to light dragoons and grenzers. So if you ever see a native spam like this, you should definitely go with the grenzers, because they really do the trick. They have so much firepower that your meat shield is rendered pretty much useless, and the light dragoons can pick at my cav and my infantry. So light dragoons, grenzers are very good against my build here, just in case you were wondering. Alright, so here my warriors come in, and you have to remember these guys are beat up. They've just taken another volley here, and they're charging into Blackwatch, and Blackwatch are definitely good in the melee, and so they have their job cut out for them. But even though they're tired and beat up, they're still not wavering, which is really amazing. So that just shows you the effect that these medicine men have on the battle. That's why I said that you need to bring the medicine men. It's because they really keep your other troops from routing, because most Indian units suffer from poor morale. And finally here, when he charges in his light dragoons, I finally get a unit wavering. But that's the first time I've really had my warriors waver in this entire battle. And one unit of them has routed because they're so destroyed. They're down to 8 men. This unit actually stabilized after the charge, and they only have 25 men, but they're still fighting. Now they're wavering again. You can see that whenever you bring these Indian armies, you really have to bring medicine men to help stabilize your morale. And here, Angelos and I have used our troops to pin down the British player here, and Aileron is in the rear, firing in with his skirmishers. There's my warriors still working hard for the money, fighting with that green jacket. See if they can take him out here. Looks like a struggle to the death. Oh, he gets hatcheted. That was ugly. Oh, it's a pretty cool fight here. I like watching this. Yeah, that guy's got the right idea. Run. Let's see how these guys turn out. Not a whole lot better. Here's, oh, that Hussar got whacked. See, that's what I was talking about. These green jackets have bayonets, and they can actually hold their ground against cavalry better than other skirmishers. I think Angelos and second Hussars are pretty beat up by that point, though. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed this fight. It's pretty much over at this point. We're all converging on the remnants of the British opponent who was opposite of Aileron. I'm going to say good game to our opponents, and very good game to my teammates, Aileron and Angelos. They're definitely better players than I am, and you can see that they use some very sound tactics. Aileron used his cavalry quite well to defeat a large number of cavalry, and still have his intact at the end of the battle. He used good skirmishing tactics, and as you can see, his long rifles are still intact, and so is his line. Angelos also used some good tactics. He used a combination of second Hussars and light dragoons to defeat a large force of enemy cavalry, and then he used outflanking maneuvers to win the skirmishing fight on his side of the battle. And of course, I used my insane going roam on my opponent, which I wouldn't recommend with any army other than the one I have here, as that you will likely get shot to pieces. As you can see, I don't have many men left by this point because they've killed an entire British army and then part of another, and they're fighting guards right now, so they're definitely getting wailed on. So that any of my men are alive is actually a miracle, considering how many excellent British troops they were opposite of. Alright, let's get to the results screen. And here it is. I'll just read off what we have here. Our opponent, sorry, as one of the British players was ANV CSA Joachim. We had CSA Space Hog, and then our other opponent was EOD Tyrannosaurus Rex. So you can see the losses in this column. I took the most losses, of course, with my Reckless Army, but I also managed to get the most kills by a long shot. But like I said, that kind of makes sense. Angelos and Aileron both played very well, and good game to our opponents. Hope you enjoyed this.